If you're watching this right now and you haven't hit the like button, Billy, get on it. Bug your brother. Tell him to do the same. So we will start the show today, it being an off day for the Blue Jays, with a little bit of a tease, a promo, if you will, for our interview with Rob Friedman, the pitching ninja that was released just yesterday, where he sat down with us for a full 30 minutes. He answered a bunch of your listener questions and also dove into where he's at on the Blue Jays pitching staff. He got right into Kevin Gausman. He kind of ranked where he feels his splitter is amongst all major league pitchers. Just a little spoiler here. It is a top 5 pitch in baseball, in his opinion. He gets right into Chris Bassett. He explains the sweeper. It was just a really fun interview and a really candid view at pitching in general. So that is up right now wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube. Feel free to check that out. I know yesterday, right before the game, it was kind of cool, dude. I was on 590 The Fan in Toronto.
Yeah, national radio spot for
national radio spot here with Shoaib Ali and Ben Schulman on Jays Talk there. So that was a lot of fun. And then, of course, we sat down and I went off to Okotoks to play a show. So I missed the first 7 innings of the game, and then tuned in the 7th, and it was all downhill from there, which obviously lots to talk about today.
The 8th inning was good. The 8th inning, you had to be like, hey, we're right in this.
Hey, we're right in this. I was so excited. Bases loaded, nobody out. Anyways, we will talk all about last night's game and just a full breakdown of that Astros-Jays series. We will talk bullpen. Are there problems? Yes, there are. How bad are they? We will dive in. Zach Pop is going to be at the top of our list of folks to talk about. We'll talk Brandon Belt, home run sellies. Oh boy, everybody seems to have one these days. We'll get into it. Minor league check-in on some of our favorites, including, and I know that I didn't give you Nate Pearson, but I brought his numbers up too. So we'll talk Nate Pearson. We'll get into where Hagen Danner is, Yosser Zulueta, Addison Barger, and a few others. And then we'll end the episode on the new rules they're testing in the Atlantic League. That Atlantic League, buddy. Oh, man. Just a guiinea pig, eh?
Basically,
just constantly.
It's the Savannah Bananas of professional ball.
Of professional ball. But, we'll talk those experimentations with the rules there. But feel free to reach out, by the way. I'm getting probably a dozen DMs a day, and I absolutely love it. It's a great way to get onto Mailbag, the Walk-Off Podcast on Instagram. Send us a DM if you would like a Discord link, by the way. That link will get you into the Discord where they are talking Blue Jays, they are talking baseball, and it is 24/7. So it's a cool place to kind of hang out there. And a big tip of the hat, obviously, to the Patreon. The Jays lose the first series of the year since that opening series against the St. Louis Cardinals. Tough way to lose it, too. I know there's a lot of negativity out there about the Jays last night after that loss. And really, I mean, to just take a step back, and if you were to be told before seeing the games, before even knowing how any of this played out, Adam, the Jays are going to play 3 games against the Tampa Bay Rays, 3 games against the Houston Astros, and they're going to come out of that 3-3. How would you feel?
I know you're baiting me here. I'm ecstatic of that.
Right? Yes.
I mean, I infamously said about this time last week, like, buckle up. This could be an ugly one. You know, this has the potential for 1-5, 0-6 on this stretch, right? Rays, hottest team in baseball. Astros, defending champs. To get 3-3, I mean, after taking the first 2, obviously expectations were higher, right? Disappointed with how the last 4 went, but ultimately 3-3 against 2 of the top contenders for the World Series this year. We're, I think, right where we should be right now.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. Now, it does feel like more of a loss than it probably is, because there were a couple of games where this team kind of let up. and it felt like they were winnable games. Yesterday being the shining example, because truly, top of the 8th inning in a 2-1 game, 2-0 game, I should say, but the Jays came all the way back, bases loaded, 2-1, nobody out. They'd managed to get through the bottom of the order. Now it's Springer, Bo, Vlad, and things are looking good. And Springer, my God, what an at-bat by that man. Takes it to a full count. Just hits a rocket up the third base line. Unfortunately, it was just right at Alec Bregman. But my goodness, the real dagger, man, was that Bo Bichette at bat. Did you watch that?
Well, yeah. I mean, it started 0-1 because of a pitch clock violation, which, by the way,
he wasn't ready to hit.
It was our second pitch clock violation of the game from an offensive standpoint. I don't know if you caught the first inning. Vladdy struck out on a pitch clock violation as well. So, I mean, if we're talking a team that's got to be focused on the details, we can't just be donating outs and strikes. Like, I mean, 4 balls, 3 strikes. So just from a simple math standpoint, a pitch clock violation against the hitter, so much more consequential than when it is against the pitcher, right? Like 0-1 versus 1-0, big difference. And then, of course, the next pitch, he's swinging. He's in an 0-2 hole now. All of a sudden, it really, it was frustrating to see. I don't know.
It was frustrating to see. No, that's the best way of putting it. And I know that Bo Bichette at bat really, it's the one that looking back, you're just like, oh, you got to be kidding. Punch. Like, it was such a gut punch. And then Vladdy couldn't get it done 3-2. And he had a decent at bat. You know, like, this is the thing. Every single one of these in a microscope aren't so bad. But when you start piling them up, right, giving away strikes here, a poor at bat here, just a mental letdown here. And that's how you lose to the Houston Astros.
Like, first 2 weeks of the season, those have been sack flies to advance runners. Like, I don't know what's going on. The offense, here's the thing. I mean, we talked 3-3 against the Astros and the Rays.
When the offense shows up,
our pitching was so good this week. I mean, I got 3 studs and a dud coming up that I got to do tomorrow. Not a lot of stud hitting this week.
No, but boy, a lot of stud pitching.
A lot of stud pitching. I mean, let's look at. Okay, so I was looking at last 7 days pitching numbers. Look, credit where credit's due. We poop on Trevor Richards a lot. 3 2/3 innings pitched this week. 0.55 for a whip. Opponent batting average 154. 0 earned runs. Good week for Trevor Richards.
I mean, let's give a little credit to. Oh, sorry, finish your thought on Trevor Richards if you were going to expand their story.
No, that's it for Trevor Richards. I just want to look at the rest of the pitching staff, because one of the big reasons I was concerned about us going 0-5 or 1-5, 0-6 this week. 2 Barrios starts. He pitched really well.
He was excellent last night. 7 innings. Anytime a guy can get out there and do 7 innings, you know, like Jose Barrios still has a ways to go, but my goodness, the positivity out of these last 2 starts.
Barrios this week, 2.25 ERA, 0.67 for a whip. Gave us 12 innings pitched. Obviously if we're getting from Barrios, we're ecstatic, but like, that's best case scenario Barrios. And those are the outings where you go, oh yeah, that's why the team believes in him, because he can do it, right? We just need to see it more often. Yusei Kikuchi as well gave us 6 innings pitched, 1.5 ERA, whip 0.83 as well. Chris Bassett had a great outing as well.
Chris Bassett, by the way, this is his last 3 starts, and I know that we all panicked after that first start of the year from him. You know, there's all the question marks in the rotation about Kikuchi and Kikuchi and Barrios. So when Bassett had that first start, all of us were just like, oh my God, do we have 3 question marks in this starting rotation, especially after you hear all of the hype about what Bassett can bring to this team and why they went out and spent $60 million on the guy, and the fact he's a workhorse, and the fact that he's reliable, and the fact he's taking that ball every 5 days. And you know what? That's exactly what we've seen out of him. These last 3 starts, an ERA of 1.99. And that's in 18.1 innings pitched, Adam. He's taking the ball and he's going 6 innings every time. 4 earned runs in those 3 starts. 17 Ks. And this is from a dude who's not really a strikeout pitcher, and he's still right around that 1 K per 9. A whip of 1.05. So the starting pitching is getting it together.
Well, the back end of the starting pitching has sure come around. I mean, I don't expect a 2.2 ERA from Jose Barrios to maintain over the next 30 starts of his, but very good. Kevin Gossman got blown up in his first inning, but
yes,
credit to him for giving us, what was it, pitching into the 5th, I think it was.
Yeah, it was. After 40 pitches and just a disgusting first inning.
So he really hunkered down and did help prevent an absolute decimation of our bullpen. So kudos there. Alek Manoah didn't have the best of weeks. 7 earned runs in 4 2/3 innings, a whip of nearly 3. We don't have to spend too much time on Alek Manoah. I want to stay positive with this. Barrios, Kikuchi, Bassett all looked awesome. Trevor Richards probably bought himself some time,
especially with his Adam Simber's performance yesterday. But we are going to get into the bullpen. But like you said,
can we talk hitters?
Go ahead. Yes.
So last
Whit
7
Merrifield.
Whit Merrifield leading the way. Second base over the last 7 days. Batting average 421. OPS batting 1,000.
I mean, he went 2 for 3
good.
again yesterday. A big double to score that RBI. He has reached base in all 14 games that he has been in the lineup, which is an impressive little stat.
That's awesome. Speaking of the bats getting cold, though, I'm looking at Blue Jays players sorted by batting average. We've got Merrifield at 424. We got Bo Bichette at 407 because, of course. We've got Alejandro Kirk at 294. And then beyond that, it is ugly. Kevin
Kiermaier.
Over the
last week here.
This is over the last week. So Kevin Kiermaier, 4th best batting average on the team at 235.
Yeah,
Danny Jansen, 5th best, hitting 200. Vladdy, 192.
So that's why Vladdy's not hitting 500 anymore.
Yes, 192 will do that. Matt Chapman, 190 over the last 6 games. Brandon Belt had a career week in Toronto, hitting 167. So his numbers are up, which is nice to see. We'll talk Brandon Belt in a bit.
Yes.
Espinal, 143. Biggio, 125. Dalton Varsho, 087 in 23 at-bats. Varsho's really cooled off. I am grateful that he had a good start, because if we hadn't seen any signs of positive productivity out of his bat, if he was hitting what Brandon Belt is hitting right now, there'd be a lot more panic.
In panic, yeah.
Right?
And listen, Varsho's still getting his hits here and there. I mean, he did get that big double yesterday. So Varsho is what he is. I think we're going to basically settle into Dalton being a 260 average, showing some power here and there, some incredible base running. He's going to give us reasons to cheer.
He's got a platinum glove and a pewter bat.
And as we're speaking these stats where you're looking at the decline with the bats, I mean, the only stat you really need to look at last night, runners in scoring position. The Blue Jays,
been a tale of the tape all year, it feels like.
Truly. The Blue Jays were 0 for 4. The Astros, Adam, 4 for 5. 0 for 4 for the Jays, 4 for 5 for the Astros. That's the difference.
That's the difference. Yeah, World Series pedigree right there.
So this does get into the bullpen here nicely, unless you had anything else to kind of touch on before we move on from that game last night.
No, let's move on to the bullpen. We do have the off day today. You mentioned Yankees for 3 in New York, and then we have the White Sox. So that's our next week ahead. Tomorrow we'll have a full uh, week
Week
preview.
3
Week
preview, if you
3
will.
preview.
Yes.
Week 4. I don't know what week we're on at this point.
Yeah,
But
maybe it is week 4.
Next week's preview. I think it's week 4. Week 4 preview tomorrow. So catch that. 3 studs and a dud and a week 4 preview on tomorrow's episode. The Bullpen.
So I'm going to start with a disclaimer that I'm not about to tell you the bullpen is okay. But I am going to be honest, and this may rub people the wrong way because I'm not in a panic like some folks are. Let's just forget about the Zach Pop implosion. And I do wish to give Zach Pop a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. He did have 2 outs with nobody on before winding up giving up little dinky single after little dinky single. Like he really got nickel and dime to death by the end. And then Adam Simber comes in and gives up that 3-run home run. Obviously, the 8-1 score, if you were watching the game, you know how that just doesn't tell the tale. Okay, so let's forget about the Zach Pop implosion. Yes, it was ugly. Forget about Simber's home run. That sucked. But you know who wouldn't have been in this game, in this high leverage situation, had the Blue Jays managed to score a run with the bases loaded and nobody out? Zach Pop.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that what happened, right? Like there's no way that John Schneider goes to Zach Pop in that high leverage situation if the Blue Jays have the lead. It's just the way it would have been. It would have been Jordan Romano, or it would have been Jimmy Garcia. It would have been one of the high leverage guys, Eric Swanson, who has a track record. Now, this whole beginning of the season, Zach Pop is dominated. And we have heard lots of people say, I want to see Zach Pop in more high leverage situations. Okay. But listen, I really do believe this mental toughness is required for high leverage relievers, and you are forged in fire. You don't just accumulate experience without going through the experience. And it is April 19th, and Zach Pop has incredible stuff. So to just throw him under the bus and act like this loss is on him, when this loss, in my opinion, is truly on the offense, he wouldn't have even been in the game had the offense done what they had to do. Again, bases loaded, nobody out. And I don't want to let the whole bullpen off the hook here because it hasn't been where we want to see it. And there is definite improvements that need to be made if this team is going to be a true contender. But let's not blow it out of proportion here. Everyone likes to look over to the Astros bullpen and be like, oh my goodness, if only we could be like the Houston Astros. Are you truly thinking that there's no bumps in the road on building that Astros bullpen? I mean, even Rafael Montero, they're still going through some growing pains with him. We watched it firsthand as he literally gave up that run and loaded the bases before Brian Abreu comes in. I don't know, man. I'm just not about to panic quite yet. I understand that Simbers had a bad year. His numbers just have been bad. Trevor Richards always gives us a scare, but he's improving. And yeah, there are some blemishes, but there's blemishes in every bullpen, and it is April 19th, and I would far rather have a guy with the sort of stuff that Zach Pop has be getting his experience early in the season rather than hoping that he can pull it out in September when he's never been there.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, now's the time to get that experience. I'm still high on Zach Pop. I think medium high.
One thing to keep in mind, Adam, is that if you look over his career, he hasn't been put in high leverage situations almost at all. Truly, last night was probably the highest leverage situations the Blue Jays have put him in.
Yeah, Astros late game, down by 1, with the team showing signs of life. Yeah, probably the highest leverage maybe he's ever pitched in his career.
Jordan Romano wasn't just handed the closer role and then excelled. right? Like, I love Jordan Romano. I absolutely love Jordan Romano. And let's even talk Jordan Romano a little bit here, because he is the one true bright spot in this bullpen. Whether you truly believe he's a legit closer or not, the numbers show he is.
I mean,
Jordan Romano, go
yeah,
ahead, Adam. Sorry.
no, it's just got a 12 strikeouts in 9 innings pitched. Got a whip of 107. Only 3 walks given up. 0 home runs, which has been his kryptonite in the past.
Leads the league in saves.
Leads the league in saves. He's looking better with runners on this year.
He
We
really
saw him.
has. And you
We
know
saw him
what?
the other day come in for a in the 8th inning for the long save, which has again been not a critique but a question mark of him getting to that elite level. I know when we talked with Jeff Blair, that was the Jeff Blair concern, is I don't see him coming in as an 8th inning guy that can give you 4 or 5 outs.
4 or 5, 6 outs. Yeah, exactly. But Jordan Romano is pitching almost completely off of his slider this season. It's been so interesting to watch. I mean, 2 nights ago, 14 of his 15 pitches at him were sliders. Like, the game before that, he pitched almost a 50-50 split, sliders to fastball. Hitters just don't know when he's going to throw that 98-mile-an-hour fastball with run. You know what it reminds me of? Did you remember Duck, Duck, Goose when you were in, like, kindergarten? And I remember there was this one kid, he just loved attention, dude. It was insane. And whenever he was the guy who was running around the circle, he never said goose. It was just nonstop, him running around, duck, 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 duck. And, like, the psychology of it, like, you're sitting in that circle and you're just like, when's it coming? When's he going to say goose? Right? That's Jordan Romano's fastball.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. I like that analogy. I just want a clip of you saying duck 10 times in a row.
Just make me look like an insane person.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Yes, it was disappointing to see Zach Pop kind of buckle under the pressure with 2 outs in that 8th inning, but to just act like this is a consistent problem isn't truly looking at the big picture.
Well, I mean, look at this is baseball though, right? Is like you said, these dinky hits were just eating them up with 2 out. I mean, the other side of the coin is George Springer hit a blistering shot to third that happened to be caught. You know, like baseball's funny like that. That's why it's 162 games for the season, because these things kind of shake out in the wash. We're going to have games that go our way for exactly this reason and games that go the other way for exactly this reason. So, no, this is just a perfect example of, like, sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. I'm not willing to overact on this one game, but generally speaking, the bats have been ice cold this week, and that's a concern.
A great example of this, dude, is my mind went blank. It's not important.
Must have been a lie. All right, you want to move on, talk Brandon Belt?
Yeah, let's talk. He is hitting 154 on the season.
Brandon Belt.
An on-base percentage of 233, a slug of 231. It is not very pretty. He's got 19 Ks on the season, and most of his hits have been weak ground balls, like 45% have been weak ground balls. But if we're going to put a little bit of positivity on this spin, he is 5 for 16 in his last 16 at bats. Since the home opener, he's striking out a lot less. He's carrying a 41.7 hard hit rate. So he's heating up. Listen, Brandon Belt's a 30. It's his birthday today. He's a 35-year-old DH, everybody, who just came off of knee surgery. It was probably a little bit rose-colored glasses of us to believe him when he said he feels the best he has ever felt.
Oh, I definitely blame a lot of my disappointment in Brandon Belt on myself for having just too high expectations coming into the season. I mean, toxic positivity, unreal optimism, whatever it was. I was listening to Blair and Barker yesterday, and they were complaining about our left-handed bats that we have, namely Belt and Biggio. Who do you have more confidence in contributing offensively by the end of the season?
Brandon Belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And honestly, this may be an odd take, but when it comes to Brandon Belt, I'm not even that worried if he doesn't work out, because I kind of feel like if Brandon Belt doesn't work out, there is some internal options that may be there and ready and available at that time. The two that come to mind is Spencer Horowitz, friend of the show, actually came on and gave us 30 minutes of his time last season. He's a first baseman, lefty bat, plays a little bit in the outfield, so there is a little bit more versatility when it comes to the positions he can play than Brandon Belt. And if he gets hot and can provide that bench bat, which is basically what they wanted Belt for, or at least a guy who can come in and break up all the righties. There's Addison Barger, who we'll get to a little later in the show here as we check in on some of our top prospects. Addy, same sort of thing, right? A lot of positional versatility. And if he can come in and be hot at the right time, Belt's just $10 million 1 year. I think that what they were trying to do was break up the righties. I still believe in Brandon Belt. I still think that he's just an old man who's just slowly easing into the season, and that by June, we won't even be talking about this.
I guess for me, I disagree with you that the upside on Belt to be contributing is different than Kevin Biggio. And I guess it just comes down to like where for Brandon Belt to be a contributor that I'm satisfied with, he's got to be hitting like middle of the order. I don't really care to see Brandon Belt as our number 8 guy.
No.
It feels like if he's hitting 8, it's because he still hasn't found it, right?
No, I'm happy with Belt in the 6 hole. How about you?
If he's productive, sure.
Yes.
But that's where I guess maybe the bar is in my mind lower for Kevin Biggio. But like if Biggio's hitting 8, I could just like help turn the lineup over, right? Like that's all I've ever wanted from Kevin Biggio is to be like a pseudo leadoff man. Like just take your walks, get on base. Just be a base runner for Kevin Kiermaier to be helping you. Like it should be Biggio walks, Kiermaier is like a high average guy. Maybe move him over, and then we got the top of the order coming up. That's ideal for me. However, Biggio is like the worst for strikeouts right now. Yeah. And I don't know what it is. I mean, he started the year pretty good. I think it was like 3 walks, 1 strikeout. In the last 2 weeks, 9 strikeouts, 0 walks for Kevin Biggio. That's not going to cut it.
No, that's not going to cut it. That's going to relegate him to the bench.
That's going to relegate him to AAA.
Yeah.
Like, if Kevin Biggio isn't getting on base, what is he doing?
Great point.
I don't know. So something's up with him. I do think he'll figure it out, but it's maddening. This was
one thing that Shoaib Ali and Ben Schulman brought up on Jay's Talk with me yesterday was Kevin Biggio, and where do I see him fitting into this lineup, especially with Santiago Espinal and Whit Merrifield already kind of taking up a lot of these ABs. And the truth is I couldn't answer the question. All I could say is this front office obviously loves him. He is a darling amongst all the scouts and the player development people there. They truly do see something in Kevin Biggio. Is it that maybe they're just waiting it out until robot umps are here and he's hitting, he's got a 400 on base percentage? But if he's just striking out and not taking walks, we can have anyone do that. And I would rather it be someone who every once in a while is going to hit one out. Right? Like it might as well be someone with some power, like sure. If we're going to have somebody in that role, it might as well be an Addison Barger who is at least gaining some experience and working on gaining that big league eye who also could pop it out of the park here and there. I don't know, man. Kevin Biggio is a big question mark. and he's got to start producing because I don't care how much this front office likes him. His rope has got to be getting shorter.
Well, I feel like this is year 3 of making excuses for Kevin Biggio, and even I'm getting sick of it. I've been a Biggio guy for a while now, a hot minute.
TikTok, Kevin.
It's not if he's not walking is the thing. If he's not getting walks and he's striking out as much as he is, something's off with him. Speaking of things being off with guys, this is just optics for me, but Santiago Espinal looks stiff. Is it just me? Like when I'm watching him running the bases and stuff, he just looks.
He doesn't really look comfortable this season at all.
Yeah, I don't know if he put on weight, and that could. I don't mean like he's fat or like he put on muscle last season. He looked way bigger than the year before.
Yeah,
but that's not always a benefit. I don't know what it is, but just looking at him running the bases yesterday, and I've thought this a couple times that he just doesn't quite look like the agility isn't there that I'm used to seeing. I don't know. Espinal, disappointing season so far. I think he would be the first to admit it, but still better than Kevin Biggio. So, All right. Anything else to add?
Let's do a minor league check-in.
You don't want to talk home run sellies?
Oh, do the minor league check-in and then home run sellies, unless you've already done the order.
Well, yeah,
there, and
it's definitely a big annoying headache for me, but
no.
I'm just being difficult.
I was just putting all the J stuff together, but we can absolutely.
Well, you should have put the J stuff together when you sent me the notes.
I thought I did.
This is your order, my friend. Anyways.
Okay, that's fair. Nope. That's fair.
All right, so let's
home run sellies.
No, I just changed it. We're all right. Is it a Monday today? It feels like a Monday. Checking in on the prospects. We touched on Addison Barger. Do you want to start with him?
Yeah, let's start with Addison Barger here. He, of course, is playing third base and shortstop in AAA currently. Where is he at with the Buffalo Bison, my dude?
Well, disappointing numbers so far, I would say. Last year, kind of put himself on the map with a 308 batting average and an OPS of 933 across all levels, including 355 at AAA to end the season last year. So looked great.
8 games, though. 8-game sample, by the way.
Sure, but started in Vancouver, hit 300, got promoted to AA, hit 313. By the end of the year, they're like, well, let's test him in AAA, and he did not look out of place. So, 8 games,
great.
Hit 355 with 3 home runs. So, power
looked
was
great
there,
in spring this
contact was there. Looked great in spring this year. Obviously, a lot of people are already clamoring for him to take Bo Bichette's job. He's hitting 235 in Buffalo this year through 33 games. OPS 669. So, power's not
What's his
there.
Power looking like?
Well, he's got 1 home run in 13 games. So, if the slugging percentage is 353, batting average is 235, that's not him busting the door down for the MLB level. Like, that's not the kind of start that demands an MLB challenge. Defensively, also worth noting, 2 errors in the 5 games he's played at shortstop. So.
It's almost like shortstop's a tough position to play.
You know what? It's funny because, again, people are clamoring. Why is Bo Bichette still playing shortstop when we have Addison Barger, the savior of the franchise? I roll at that. Not at Addison Barger, but like the hype.
No,
for him.
I like Addy.
And
like,
I
this
think
is the thing.
and we were high on him this preseason too. But like also the idea of him just taking Bo Bichette's job at shortstop and thinking that he's going to be like a step up defensively based on it's ludicrous. Anyways, Addison Barger, slow start, let's say, at AAA this year. Not taking Bo Bichette's job anytime soon. Bo Bichette, by the way, hasn't made an error in quite a few games. So I think it was like 3 errors in the first week of the season. No errors since then. So
has tightened that up. Absolutely. And listen, Addison Barger, he has very limited time at AAA. Once he kind of gets a view of all of the pitchers and he gets a little bit of a Rolodex of what guys are trying to do to him, he is going to take a step forward. This is what player development is all about, and rushing him to the big leagues is the worst idea you could possibly have. I think we'll see Addy when he is good and ready to make the jump.
He is splitting his time between third base and shortstop. I know one of the scouting report records on him says good arm strength, right? So I think that's why a lot of people want him to be the new shortstop, because Bo struggles in the arm strength category. But if that arm strength is coming from third versus from shortstop, I mean, Matt Chapman has great arm strength, but a lot. It's just such a different throw coming from third as opposed to playing deep in the hole at shortstop and on the run, crossbody, or whatever the case may be. So Addison Barger may be a great replacement for Matt Chapman next year. I don't know. I hate even saying that because I'd love to see Matt return. That won't happen. All right, this is supposed to be prospect talk. Let's get back to the prospects. Yasser Zulueta. Or you know what? Let's talk Elvis Martinez, and then we'll get to the pitchers because we got Zulueta, Tiedemann, Pearson, and a couple others to get to as well. So Elvis Martinez, 21 years old. He is
back in Double A.
Double A to start the season. Oh, you thought Addison Barger's batting average was bad. How about 0.81?
Ooh,
from Elvis Martinez.
Out of the gate.
Yeah. So, does have 2 home runs though.
Of course he does.
In 10 games. So swing away. Swing away. This is what you want out of your guy, right? If you're not going to get on base, at least maybe put one out here and there. So that's Elvis Martinez. He's getting time at looks like third base and shortstop as well. So 4 errors in 6 games at third base for Elvis Martinez at Double A. Yuck.
Yeah, that left side of the infield takes some defensive prowess. It is not.
They're premier defensive positions for a reason, man.
Yeah, it is not without development and bumps in the road along the way to get there. Absolutely. Let's turn the page to pitching here. And maybe we start with Hagen Danner. And I say that because I know that he started the year on the IL.
Okay.
And from what it looks like, that's where he is still at. Is that what you kind of pulled up
I don't have any no numbers from any level right now. So still
no word as even to what that is. He's on the 7-day IL, which is kind of weird. It makes me think maybe it's a concussion or something. I'm not sure what's going on there, but we will keep an eye on Haggy D, friend of the show, and see what's going on with him.
It's too bad because the potential's there. Throws 100, but also didn't play very much last season. Spent more time on the IL as well.
Struggling staying on the field, yeah.
Just 4 games at Double A for Hagen Danner last year, and then had a good outing in the fall league. But if you can't make it on the field, it's going to be tough, right? So hopefully he can get back to healthy. All right. Zulueta, Tiedemann, reverse. Okay. Zulueta, 25 years old. Maybe other than like a Casey Lawrence weird emergency start situation, is Zulueta maybe the first guy up?
They are stretching him out.
All right, let's look at his numbers. 2 games so far. 6 innings pitched. WHIP of 1.5, ERA 7.5. I don't know what this is. Is he just getting...
He was blowing up in his last game is what it was.
He
didn't allow a run so in game 1 of the season, his first 3 innings, he didn't allow a run. Then in the next 3 innings, he allowed, I think I forget what it was. I think he allowed
5 runs
6
then.
runs or 5 runs or something like that. And yeah, that really ballooned his ERA.
All right. Well, strikeouts per 9 is 12. That's where you want to see it. Walks per 9, 1.5. That's where you want to see it. So, yeah, I mean, still early in the year. So 1 bad outing really inflates the numbers. I mean, we talked about it earlier, but Zach Pop had pretty elite numbers heading into the 8th inning last night, and his numbers have ballooned substantially. So, Yasser Zulueta, outlook is still good on him, though. He's healthy, pitching well. You're going to get blown up from time to time. All right. Let's talk Semro Burst first, and then we'll end with Ricky Tiedemann.
Okay, sounds good.
So Sam Roberts is pitching in Double-A. 3 outings so far, 13 and 2/3 innings. A whip of 1.24. Strikeouts per 9 is 11.9, so that's nice. The walk
Good to
rate.
see.
Walk rate is too high though, 5.3 for a walk rate, which is
far higher than what he has done.
Yeah,
in his minor league
career walk rate is 3.2. So something's not right there. Last year had a walk rate of 2.5 in Vancouver across 17 games. So struggling with control, I guess, to start the season. But
To start the season, it looks that way. Sem Roberts, of course, friend of the show. He, as well as Ricky Tiedemann, 21 years old. He's going on his 22nd birthday here. International free agent that they got out of the Netherlands, and he just hit that top 10 prospect within the Jays organization list here this year. He's a guy to keep an eye on. Everyone always talks about Sem Roberts' ability to hit his spots with all of his pitches. Now, that goes against what we just talked about with his walk rate, but that's the big bright spot in his future, is that the guy knows how to pitch. That was one thing that when we talked to his catcher, Zach Britton, when we talked to some of the guys that have been in the bullpen with him, or I guess the starting rotation with him in Vancouver, they all say, he's a pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
So Sam Roberts is probably another year away from actually making noise and pushing his way towards this Blue Jays rotation, but a guy to keep an eye on.
All right. Speaking of guys to keep an eye on, Ricky
boy
Tiedemann, our boy. Look, had about as good of a start to the season as you could ask for.
In that first start of the year.
That first start of the year, went 3 innings, 9 strikeouts, 0 walks. Gave up 2 hits. I mean, as good as it gets, right? So he pitched again yesterday. So he gave up looks like 1 earned run, 1 hit, and 2 walks, but still struck out 6 and went 3 2/3 innings. So
another thing to keep in mind with Ricky. Another thing to keep in mind with Ricky is that he was shut down over spring training. He had some discomfort in his arm, and so precautionary shutdown. They didn't actually find anything wrong. They just wished to make sure that his arm was feeling good to start the season. So he's still building up his innings. I don't think there's anything to read too much into where he's at. And even if he did get hit or whatever it was, they're still trying to get him to the point where the rest of the pitching staff is, right? Which is fully stretched out and in regular season form.
Yeah. It's kind of a very impressive number on Ricky Tiedemann is his home runs that he doesn't give up.
Yes.
I'm just looking at his career numbers. So only got 20 games in minor league professional baseball. That's good for 85 innings, 3 home runs. So he has a home run rate of 0.3 home runs per 9.
Hey, if you're giving up a home run once every
3 games,
yeah, you take that every single day. You take that every time out.
So
let's I know we weren't going to do Nate Pearson, but he did have another great game last night. He needed just 10 pitches to throw a scoreless inning, lowering his ERA to 2.45, and he is knocking on that big league door. I think we could see Nate Pearson sometime within the next month is my bet.
Not a bad bet. Nate Pearson, 18.4 strikeouts per 9. Lovely. Walks per 9.
Are you kidding me?
A little high.
Are you kidding me? 2 strikeouts per an inning? 2 strikeouts an inning. Get this man to the big leagues.
Look, this might be the year for Nate Pearson. The expectations are gone.
Mm-hmm.
They all but eliminated. He's not going to be. I think the opportunity for him to be a starting pitcher in Major League Baseball has all but completely gone.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't think it'll happen with the Blue Jays, barring some weird circumstances, because worst case scenario, he comes up as a relief pitcher, struggles, career over, right? Or back down, and maybe he finds it again when he learns to throw a knuckleball. Best case scenario, he dominates. And then if he's dominating as a relief pitcher, why would you want to mess with that? If we have a seventh inning guy who's striking out 18 per 9, why would you say, well, let's try and fix what ain't broken?
Stretch him out, yeah.
But, maybe 3 years from now, he pitches himself into like a Ross Stripling role with another team. Like maybe that's his path to being a starter, but I don't see it.
I honestly don't even think that Nate views himself as a starter anymore, and that he would just like to prove that he belongs in the big leagues and that he can take the ball whenever they need him out of the bullpen. I could be completely wrong, and maybe in the back of his head he does have like dreams of being a starter, but at this point in his career,
I hope you're right. I hope so bad for Nate Pearson's sake that he embraces the role of relief pitcher the way Vladdy embraced first base.
Yeah.
And said, you know what, this is a little bit disappointing, because it does feel like a step back from where you've been building up to your whole life to be a relief pitcher versus a starting pitcher. But like, if he can just embrace it and be like, I'm going to throw 100 miles an hour 10 times, 2 or 3 times a week. Like,
yeah,
I'll take that. Like, because look, if he can really embrace it, like, the sky's the limit for him as a relief pitcher. He could still be a lights out closer or whatever. Yeah. Like he's still young. He's got time to become a dominant relief pitcher. So yeah, Nate Pearson, I hope beyond hope that he embraces the relief role. Plus maybe it'll help his health, not going out there for 100+ pitches once a week.
We will move on, but I do wish to just end with this Nate Pearson stuff of, he is averaging 99.5 miles an hour with his fastball. But what's been impressive about Nate Pearson is he is hitting his off-speed stuff this year, and he's not walking guys. And that is what you needed to see out of Nate Pearson, was a little bit of control, his ability to switch his pitches up and to hit his spots. And the fact he's doing it in AAA, it's only going to bode well for his career going forward. And I think he is going to get that big league opportunity sooner than later. We'll need to wait and see, but yeah.
All right, let's talk home run celebrations.
They are getting fun. Listen, I want to talk about how the Blue Jays blaze a trail time and time again, get shit on, and then everyone else follows suit a year later and then are celebrated by baseball for doing exactly what the Jays just did, right? The home run jacket, the heat around the league that this organization took for having a fun jacket that they put on after hitting a home run. I think most Jays fans, it blows our minds. And now 2023 rolls around, and my God, dude, everyone has something. I mean, Baltimore doing the beer bong, little celly they're doing, right? Seattle brought out the trident, the home run trident last night, right? Los Angeles has, the samurai helmet, right? That they put on. And then Milwaukee's got the cheese head, which is kind of fun. Yep. Listen, I'm all for it. And I do actually love seeing these celebrations take place around the league, especially if you're a team that is, let's call them middling, right? Like the
Orioles,
the Seattle, the Orioles, these teams that,
Ooh, we're going to take heat for you calling Seattle middling after they eliminated us from the playoffs last year.
Yeah, they are 8-11 though. I do think Seattle's a good team and is going to compete for a playoff spot. You know what? I think Milwaukee's a good team and going to compete for a playoff spot. But they're a team that, I mean, if you just start breaking down the odds of them being in the World Series, they get pretty small.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But it's adding fun to teams that, it's just good for the crowd. It's just good for people who like to watch fun baseball. And this reminds me a little bit of the bat flip, right? Jose Bautista, game 5 against the Rangers in the biggest game of his career, hits that home run in the 7th inning to take the lead, and it's a big bat flip. And everybody knows the fallout from that. Sam Dyson incident, the rivalry over the next 2 years with the Rangers, constant booing from fans around the league, only to see the bat flip become the most celebrated and most used celebration in all of baseball. Guys are bat flipping walks in 2023. So just another example of Toronto blazing the way for fun, taking crap for it, and then just everyone else getting on board.
Well, home run jacket's gone in Toronto.
Yep.
Bo Bichette, happy.
Yes.
I didn't catch. So Vladdy hit his 3rd of the year against the Astros. I didn't see what happened in the dugout.
Oh, the imaginary jacket.
He's been his first 2 home runs. He's been putting on the I don't know if it's an imaginary jacket or an invisible cape or what it is. He's the only one I've seen do it. I don't hate it at face value, other than from a team buying into stuff, everyone on the same page. I think there's value in, and if he's still doing the home run jacket on his, I don't like it. I don't like that.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the invisible home run jacket for Vladdy, if that's the thing he's going to do all year?
As long as it's not a disgruntled shot at Bo, I'm fine with it. Do whatever you want. Now, if this is some sort of passive-aggressive, under-the-radar kind of shot, then I don't like it, but I don't think it is. I think Bo and Vlad are still great and good relationship, and the clubhouse is fine, and this is probably making something out of absolutely nothing.
Yeah, well, that's what I love to do here. I love to overthink things. No, it just, I don't feel like him and Bo have a bad relationship, but for better or for worse, the team as a team decided, look, we're not doing the home run jacket anymore. And if Vladdy is just deciding, well, I'm going to do my own thing then, I don't, whatever 2% of not buying in that amounts to, I just don't like it. It's like that I'm not touching you that's going on in the back seat between the brothers and the sisters, right? It's like, I know you're not technically touching your sister, but you're still driving her nuts. Cut it out. I know you're not technically putting on a home run jacket, but we see what you're doing, and it's cut it out, man. It's a little trolly, maybe. I don't know what it is, Scott.
I think the most likely thing that is going on there is it's a wink to the crowd from Vlad.
Maybe. There you go.
It's a wink to Toronto fans. I don't think it's actually kind of a passive-aggressive shot at the guys who wanted the jacket gone or anything like that. But we'll never know.
How do you feel about celebrations in general?
I love them.
Yeah.
Give me a good celly. You bet.
I'm on the fence.
You're on the fence? There's a time and a place. Listen, if the Blue Jays down 8-1 hit a solo home run and it's late in the game and they act like they just did something impressive, I hate that. But in a big moment, celebrate away.
Let me put this to you this way, because here's 2 stark situations. Because generally, I feel like, yeah, if you're winning, celebrate. If you're losing and losing big, just shut up and take your silent victory, right?
Yeah.
But if we're down 8-1 to the Yankees and Matt Chapman hits a home run, and that's 1 extra home run towards a big payday, I want the whole team to embrace him and be like, good for you, buddy. You're 1 step closer to that 9-figure contract. Every home run you hit whether it's in a 5-4 game or a 8-1 loss. At the end of the day, it's 35 home runs on the year, and that's more money in your bank account. So kudos to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I do like it in that regard. What I don't like is when we're up 8-1 and we're doing curtain calls in the fourth inning.
Yes.
I mean, we know how that played out last year.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm starting to come around on the whole idea of like celebrating big moments in bad games, because at the end of the day, guys are all here to get paid and support their families and, you know, pay for someone to clean up popcorn on flights, right? So it's again, 162 games, it's a grind. You got to find a way to break up the monotony and the miserable days. And if you're on a losing streak and a water gun fight in the dugout or whatever helps break the grumpy gusses, then let's do it. Yeah, I don't know. I want to see something come from the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
I hope it's not nothing all year long. I hope we do end up doing something that is not just high fives. Because it's fun. I don't know. It's I hate this whole conversation.
You went from being very unfun to fun at the end. It was nice. It was good.
I found it. I found my fun.
Real twist. You found your
fun.
fun.
What? Whenever I'm grumpy, my mom always comes over and she says, "Adam, you find your fun. Don't let the day get away from you. You find your fun, son." All right, let's
end this puppy. Let's end this pup. New rules that they are testing in the Atlantic League. I know that a couple of them jumped off the page to me. I know you have them in front of you here, so let's quickly go through them and give our opinion on what we're feeling about them.
Okay, so we're going to take the bird's eye approach. First, we're going to run through all 3 rules, and then we'll break them down one by one. How's that sound?
Okay, love it.
Okay, so these are experimental rules being used this season in the Atlantic League. So
yes,
there will be the use of a designated pinch runner, which we'll get to in a second. There's also a tweak to the disengagement rule. So right now at the MLB level, pitchers are allowed to disengage twice during an at-bat. The Atlantic League is going to experiment with one disengagement per at-bat. And then they will continue the use of, so I guess this is something they used last year, the double hook DH rule, which allows clubs to use the designated hitter throughout the game, provided the club's starting pitcher has completed at least 5 innings. If the starter fails to make it through the 5th, the club then loses the DH for the remainder of the game. So if I'm understanding that correctly, a bullpen arm would have to hit, or you would use a pinch hitter.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'd have to use someone off your bench, or you'd have to use someone off your bench. I don't think they're going to go back to pitchers hitting, but they definitely would need to switch out the designated hitter. So you lose your top guy is the idea. And the whole idea behind this, let's start with this one, being we're talking about it. Okay. The whole idea behind it is to encourage teams to keep their starting pitchers in longer into the game to eliminate the Rolodex of bullpen pitchers. So the double hook kind of works in a way where if you were to take your starting pitcher route, let's say he gets blown up and you're taking him out in the 3rd, your probably cleanup hitter, your designated hitter, also has to be removed from the game. Do you like this rule, Adam? I'm going to seem like an old man on all of these.
I mean, I like it I like the spirit of it. I like the idea of rules to encourage longer outings from starting pitchers. Mm-hmm. What I don't like about it is it feels like it doesn't quite achieve what the purpose of it is. Like if your Jose Barrios gets blown up in the 2nd inning and you yank him, you're just kind of double punishing a team for having a bad outing. Mm-hmm. You know, like I don't think it's going to prevent anyone who's like, oh, we got Kikuchi and he's 2/3 of the way through the 5th inning and he's like doing okay. do we want to go to the bullpen here for the third time through the order, or do we want to leave Kikuchi in, right? Like, that feels like the intent of the rule is that, no, we want the starter to face the guys the third time through the order. Give the teams a chance to get to a guy who's maybe pitching well. But what it feels like in reality would be the result is teams are just having a rough outing from a guy, and now they're getting double screwed. It should be called the double screwed rule. If your starter doesn't do well, you're also getting screwed offensively because you're going to lose your DH. Yeah. So that's what I don't like about it. How do you feel?
I don't really see how this would improve the game at the major league level. I mean, test away, I guess. I don't particularly like it. I think that this is another attempt to limit what the Rays can do. And I think baseball should just let the Rays be the Rays. I mean, I do see the value in trying to encourage starting pitchers to stay in the game longer. It's going to shorten the games as well. You're not going through all these pitching changes. Sure. I get the idea behind it, and I'm fully prepared to see what this experimentation leads to. Let's see what happens in the Atlantic League where it doesn't really matter. At first glance, though, my initial reaction is I don't like it.
Fair enough. Okay, let's talk the single disengagement per at bat. One pickoff attempt.
I mean, at that point, you're going to have how many stolen bases? It seems like let's just see how this rule shakes out before we get too excited here. And maybe this is just to see how it goes. It feels like you're really handcuffing the pitchers and what they're able to do there. I don't like this one either.
I saw this is kind of related. So the two disengagements, it was a Corbin Burns game this week, I believe. I don't know if you saw his manipulation of that rule. It was masterful. I think actually the Pitching Ninja did a breakdown on this, but it was runner on second base. He'd already used his two disengagements. So the base runner knows, okay, he can't go for me again or whatever.
Without getting me, yeah.
Without getting a balk and whatever. So Corbin Burns holds the ball like to the last possible second as the pitch clock is ticking down to 0 because he knows like runner's going. Anyways, totally baited the runner into going. And then like as it's ticking to 0, then he made his move and got the guy dead to rights. It's pretty fun to watch. Generally, I don't know if I like any of these disengagement restrictions. I mean, 2 feels fine because it really does slow down the game when you're watching 11 pickoff attempts to first during an at bat, right? And even the crowd starts booing at that point. Like, what are you doing here, buddy? Right? So like some cap on it. I don't know. Maybe 1 is better. Maybe I'll love it. I don't know. I could take it or leave it. I don't know how I feel about it yet. This last one, I think, is the most interesting. The use of a designated pinch runner. So, I guess a DH, but for base running. So
that's exactly what it is. Yes.
Each club will list a player who is not otherwise in the starting lineup as a designated pinch runner. That player may then be substituted at any point into the game as a base runner. The player who is substituted for, as well as the pinch runner, may then return to the game without penalty. So, in last night's game, as a for example, Alejandro Kirk gets on base in the 8th inning. We pinch run him for Santiago Espinal, or vice versa. That we pinch run Espinal for Kirk. With this rule, if we had designated Espinal as our designated pinch runner, we could have done that, and but Kirk remained in the game.
So he can hit again.
Was he DH? He wasn't catching yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts on this? Because I love this.
Oh, sure. Let's have designated fielders. I don't even want to watch anyone be good at baseball. I just want to watch them be good at one aspect of baseball. Let's have designated everything, designated runners. Like I hate it. I think it's like, what are we playing, men's league softball? Like
There's no
anyways.
binge. Anyway, all right. No, I like it because. Oh well, then.
I did warn I was going to be an old man about this. By the way, for everyone who's going to comment,
this is good.
roast
This is
me.
good. We got along for most of the episode, so we can start fighting now. This is good. We'll end on a bad note. Find your fun, Scott. Find your fun. Put that on a t-shirt. Are you anti DH then?
No, I love DH.
What's the difference?
I don't want to see.
You just don't want to see bad pitchers not being good at hitting.
And I know where you're going with this, because why would I want to see bad runners be bad at running? But I just feel like you're completely messing with the integrity of the game. You should be able to do everything as a fielder that's taking at bats. I just don't like it, man. I'm sorry. Like,
are you? What is the difference between having a pinch runner at all versus a designated pinch runner from a integrity of the game standpoint? Like
that, because then you need to decide, like, if you're in last night's game, right? You're taking Alejandro Kirk out of the lineup for Santiago Espinal. You are taking a risk in doing that, because if for some reason you wind up tying the game and it goes into extra innings and then his at bat comes up, you're taking a dip on the hitting side of things. So there's far more strategy involved for the manager, and I like that. I like the risk of, like, is it worth it? Needing to weigh whether or not you want to remove that very capable bat from your lineup in exchange for one that's not as capable.
So this rule essentially just trades the downside of the risk in a coach's decision. It's just pure offensive gain.
Yeah.
Risk mitigation, and you're not for that. Okay. I could see where you're coming from there. One thing that I thought when I first read this rule was I would rather than a designated pinch runner, it just be a designated runner. And it is assigned to a player. Like Alejandro Kirk is never going to run today. He's going to hit, but then Kevin Biggio is going to run for him every single time, and only for him. It is not like, well, if Kirk gets on, maybe we use Kevin Biggio for him. But if Brandon Belt gets on, maybe we use Biggio for him. It's just like, I would rather just be like, your DH covers your pitcher, period. You pick your guy. You can run for him if you want. Maybe it's George Springer. Maybe you're like, George Springer has a little bit of a hamstring thing going on. He's still going to DH for us. But then once he gets to first, Whit Merrifield's running today. I kind of like that. You know? I don't know.
Drop in the comments how you feel about these rules they're testing in the Atlantic League, everybody. We'll get to this on mailbag. I would love to hear how you, the grounds crew, view some of these rules they're testing. And if you're for them, listen, it's funny because I was truly against most of the rules that they have implemented this year, and I am enjoying the bigger bases. The base stealing is fun. I'm liking how quick the games are going with the pitch clock. So I don't know, maybe this is just where I'm at in my life, man. I'm just an old man, and as soon as someone brings up change, I'm like, whoa! And then it happens and I'm like, you know what, that wasn't so bad. So I don't know. A big thank you to everyone who has hit that like button. We do appreciate all the love we get from you, the grounds crew. Feel free to drop a comment and we'll get to that in the mailbag. You can reach out on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast, on Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast. Just a quick heads up to all my pals in Kelowna. If you are a listener and you want to come check out some comedy, I am there 1 week from tomorrow for Friday and Saturday. So we will throw the ticket link up in the comments here. Come check it out. I'll buy you a beer. Cheers, everybody.
All right. Bye, Dad.